Hey guys, this is 409th Emperor Dion bringing you a clan match between the 409th Legion and the clan known as LGA. So, to give you the rundown here, on the 409th team, there's Kharkiv, myself, Sexy Man, and I believe that's Jason, a 409th Jason there. He was the guy in the last video I posted. Yeah, so this is a pretty strong 419. Now, look, I'm going to give my opinions about this LGA clan. So, the rundown on them is that they're a new clan. They sprung up relatively recently, and they seem to be full of guys that don't really know what they're doing. Okay, that's fine. In the year 2026, I'm glad to see new clans still sprouting up, regardless of their skill level or whatever. But these guys in particular, okay, they've kind of mouthed off at us a bit in ways that I don't really appreciate. Also, one of their current members is a 409th member, and honestly, this guy, he was very flaky and wishy-washy and flip-flopping all over the place about whether or not he was going to even be in our clan. And I just kind of told him, look, dude, I don't care if you're here or not, because you're not really like someone who mingles with us. You don't mingle with the members of the clan. You don't really talk to anybody but me. Like, okay, you need to figure something out, man. I don't care what you do. Just pick something and stick with it. So this guy left the 409th and joined this LGA clan where apparently he had all his friends all along. And also, a couple members of theirs have been a little bit mouthy with various members of mine. One of them in particular actually came and started randomly messaging me out of the blue. I didn't know who this guy was, and he just started talking all kinds of shit about, oh, I beat this guy, I beat him, you all suck, and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, okay. Now look, LGA, this is not the first time 409th has played these guys. We were playing them apparently a couple days before this. From what I could tell, like the lower ranking members of the 409th were giving them a pretty rough time in all of those battles. I jumped on yesterday and played them myself, along with Mr. Jimmy Boy before he left the clan. And pretty much with the way that went and from what I saw, these guys are not very good. They're not very good. So considering that they're not very good, that's fine, like I said. But in order for you to talk shit like I've kind of seen these guys doing a bit, well, okay, I take issue with that. I really take issue with that, because that's kind of getting back to a bit of the old days in the community where you had people who would more likely talk shit, and people had to kind of do something about it and put the information out there to show that, hey, these guys are not very strong. So just here's who they actually are. Don't take them seriously if you ever see them talking a lot of shit in this game. So it's kind of leading towards that situation with them now. Yesterday's game, I played them. I literally almost beat these guys 2 versus 1 by myself using Denmark. That's ridiculous. That's insane. But here we go. Let's get to this particular battle here. Now, I'm not even going to bother saying who is who on their team. I'm sure you can figure it out if you just go and see the loading screen and the lobby screen, which is shown in this video. But as you see here, the army that I brought, though, I brought 4 Voltigeurs. I brought 1 old guard, a Polish legion, a young guard. Not a very line-heavy army. 3 Swiss foot, 1 Fusilier of the line. This is a, let me tell you guys, this is a joke army I have. I've got 8 cavalry. That's not something I typically bring. And I typically bring more lines than that too. This is a joke army because I'm not taking these guys seriously, really. And as you'll see here, I went ahead and took the center of the map. This is Siberian Plateau. On Siberian Plateau, you really want to take that little area right there every single time. There's no reason why you wouldn't take that area. And I saw that, hey, you guys are just going to let us like come up in here. So I'm going to just come up in here and take it. And he tried to respond to it a bit late, but my infantry are already well dug into there. So here we go. I'm going to perform a flanking maneuver right here on this guy, finish him off. You already see His line infantry there is already losing a shooting fight against my own line infantry there in the forest. That's going to be a pretty quick and easy cleanup there. I'm just going to move up there in the forest and keep Kharkiv some support. That's Kharkiv with Ottomans on my flank over there, by the way. Now, I see them moving their cavalry over here. Now, here's something that you should know about players that are not very good. Typically, when you see them moving cavalry the way they are right now, you know they got these blobs of cavalry heading your way. Typically, players that are not very good, they do that, or they'll send all their cavalry at you all at once. Like, they'll panic and send all their cavalry at you like that. And while that's not very good, and it's not very dangerous, it is very annoying typically. So you don't want to let your cavalry get caught by stuff like that. So that's why I pulled my cavalry out of that flanking maneuver right away. So I'm not even going to take a chance. Like, screw that. I pulled them back into the forest. Now I'm going to march them back up and just casually shoot these cavalry off. And probably they'll lose a bunch of cavalry and not really done much for it. You see my light infantry there in a weird little position where it's like right on the edge of shooting, but it's not shooting. That's actually a very rare bug that you can encounter in this game. It doesn't happen very often. But here we go. So that cavalry assault they were about to push there, they retreated from that. Pretty sure they lost quite a few guys out of that. So I'm just going to move forward there a little bit more, secure that center of the forest more. Kharkiv is committing to an attack against his guy. And let's see, that's Sexy Man right there with GB on my other side there. Yeah, you can already tell. So, like I was saying earlier, these guys, these LGA guys are not very good. And they've kind of talked a little bit of shit towards us. But you can see in this video, like, look at this. Like, these guys, they're not very good. I'm starting to think that this clan, or whatever you want to call it, it's just a group of kids, pretty much, and they don't know what they're doing, and they do stupid things. And I mean, we took a screenshot of one of their guys saying something like, oh yeah, the top 5 best players in the game are like, and then he listed a bunch of no-name randoms that nobody knows, and he also listed himself among them, and I thought that was pretty cute or whatever. But as you can clearly, I think that guy that said that too is here in this match. I probably have to check later to see if that's the case, but look, just as I'm saying though, you can tell these guys are not very good. They are very, very bad, and I really would advise them, if they're watching this video, you know, Napoleon Total War has always been full of people who have talked shit and got an attitude and an ego, but usually that ego was based on something. Usually it was based on at least being able to beat some people and being like somewhat competent, like not a pushover at all, you know? But these guys, as you can see, they're really, really bad. And just, I don't know, this kind of gets at the larger issue of like the noob problem that I've spoken to before in this community these days, you know? Due to the fact that Creative Assembly removed the chat, there's no longer an ability to chastise people for doing stupid things in the chat verbally, so people can kind of get away with doing dumb things and they never really learn because nobody's there to tell them, hey, you stupid noob, like that's stupid, what are you doing, you know? Like, that's how people used to be back in the day. Call it what you will, you know, you might want to say, oh, that's mean, but it did make people stop playing shitty, and it did maintain a general level of skill in the community that you just really don't see anymore these days. So, I mean, call it what you will, like, perhaps there's something to bullying, you know? I'm a little bit old school on this, like, bullying is not typically a good thing, but bullying has some merits, okay? It has the merit of at least checking certain bad actors who would not be able to flourish if they were being actively bullied and suppressed. And, you know, call me an asshole, but that's just my opinion on it, you know? There's also an element of kind of unfairly and unjustly bullying people too, who may not be necessarily so bad. That typically was a problem, so that's kind of the reason why I'll never outright justify things like that. But I think the community is suffering from a huge lack of bullying going on anymore. I don't know, or just call me an asshole. But anyway, so this match, like I said, you can see pretty straightforward here. I'm not really having to use much of my units here. I sent Kharkiv a couple cavalry units to give him some support there to make sure he's not gonna get too heavily bogged down there. But Kharkiv pretty much 2v1 against these guys over there on his flank, and he's advancing with much of his army still intact. Let's see here, I'm gonna go ahead and sneak around and try to get some shots on that heavy calf there. Hoping that he sees it right away, and of course he charges, so I charge him back. But I see that he's kind of gotten the upper hand in that cavalry assault, so I'm gonna fall back right after the charge. That's kind of a thing you can do. Instead of sitting there and fighting it out in cavalry assault, you can just pull back right away after the charge and just go do something else. That typically tends to work out. See there, I've overpowered Prussia with my own light infantry. That's kind of ridiculous that France is overpowering Prussia, because Prussia has some of the best light infantry in the game, and France's light infantry are not really that good, but nonetheless, I still was able to come out on top there in the skirmish fight in the forest, so easy GG. Now I'm going to commence the next phase of the assault here by moving my cavalry from the adjacent forest into the forest in front of my army, and we're going to come straight in from the side there and kind of just do non-consensual things to him that I'm sure he's not going to like very much. Digging right on up into one of those chasseurs à cheval. Even if I gotta break through squares to get up in there, I'm gonna break through those squares, and I'm gonna be up in that forest, and he's not gonna last much longer. Now that my guys are properly in there on him. Yeah, guys, this is straightforward. This game is really, really boring, but I just felt like I needed to post this though to give a brief commentary, because like I've made a video like this before, basically calling out the noob problem in this community. I don't care how much you guys rage at me or say, oh, I'm an asshole, or say, oh, that's mean, oh, you shouldn't talk like that. Oh, no, it's literally like, fuck anyone who wants to say that. Like, no, screw it. I'm sick of watching this community just continually decline from a lack of people who really should not be in here. First of all, talking shit to people, because these guys did talk shit. Need I remind you of that? They did talk shit. Yeah, guys in here talking shit, and they really don't understand how to play the game like at all, and just being a pest pretty much to any of the players that have like been here and know the game and are pretty much lifers in this game, and they just want to have good games and see new people come in. But instead of that, we get a bunch of noobs that want to another thing about these guys too that's worth mentioning is that they oftentimes get inside like they'll send their troops inside houses, which is a very dishonorable thing that you're not supposed to do. It's generally agreed upon in the community that, hey, like the house mechanic in this game is pretty broken and it provides an unfair advantage typically, and so it's just kind of agreed upon to not use those ever. It's really a useless mechanic that allows people who are not very good to suddenly be able to snatch victories out even though they played shit. They got some guys in houses, so they would just coast off of that and just casually win. Because if good players also did that, then of course these players would never win, and then they'd start bitching and complaining there that, oh, we beat them at their own game. No, it's just best not to do certain things. So, yeah, it's agreed upon that elite players and players that have been here don't do that, but these LGA guys do that. They jump inside houses, they camp on hills, they just generally do things that are very annoying and very newbie and very just dishonorable, and they have the nerve to talk a little bit of shit. Okay, now granted, I will give them this, they didn't talk a lot of shit. It's mostly been onesies and twosies here, and of course the 409th member that was their friend who left. Like, I'm not even mad about that. I'm glad that he left, because honestly I was getting annoyed at this guy constantly talking about, oh, I want to leave the clan, and then I want to come back to the clan, and then just kind of flip-flopping all over the place. I don't know. I think these guys are a bunch of kids. I should have asked this guy how old was he, because I have a strong feeling these guys are a bunch of kids. They certainly play like it, you know. There goes another general of theirs. Let's see. Yeah, it's already way over without having to have spent really any effort whatsoever. And it's just a boring game. You know, this is kind of getting at one of the reasons why I'm annoyed at, noobs. And just so we're clear here, a noob is not someone who's just bad at the game. A noob is someone who refuses to get better at the game despite loads of evidence to the contrary that, hey, what you're doing is not very good. And also being a little bit arrogant. These guys are most certainly arrogant. I don't like to see arrogance in people who don't understand at all what they're doing. Like, come on. You don't get to do that. Even really, truly good players don't get to be arrogant, Even they don't get to do it. But for someone who's not even good to be arrogant and say, oh, he's one of the top 5 best players in the game, well, I'm sorry. I take issue with that guy. Like, that's why the tone of this video is gonna be pretty negative towards them. Pretty negative. Because I don't like that attitude. I don't like that behavior. I don't like guys who waste our time and are just not very good, Whatever. It's kind of just my protest against what has happened to this game. What has happened to this game is truly sad, It's one thing for the game to just be old, but it's another for the game to be full of just a bunch of arrogant, snobbish noobs, and that's just annoying. And I'm always going to call shit like that out, regardless of what you got to say about it. So anyways, here's the score. This has been 409th Emperor D and the Lion, just a casual beatdown of this LGA clan. I fully don't expect these guys to be around for too long, hopefully. I don't know. If they're going to stick around, I do hope they get better, so at least you don't just roll them over so easily like this if we play them in the future. I advised our clan leader, Kharkiv, to not play these guys anymore. It's kind of a waste of time. And that's just my opinion about it overall. And I'll go ahead and conclude this video here. This has been 409th Emperor Dion, and I will see you guys in the next one. Later.